Hello, Logan and Apps here with a review. This time round, we're discussing What Remains of Edith Finch. Hi, Apps, how you doing?
Good, thanks you.
That was very artificial, wasn't it?
Yep, didn't
Yep.
mean that.
No. Right, so let's get straight into it. Get your cards on the table and give us a little rundown of this game.
Yeah, so what remains of Edith Finch? Little indie number that's popped out. Fucked it. Little indie number from Giant Sparrow. I think they had their last game. I know their last game was something called The Unfinished Swan, which I've never played. I think it's on PlayStation Plus. I've got it sitting there. I just never sat through to play it. But What Remains of Edith Finch, released in 2017. Obviously, it's not a sequel or anything like that. But it is like a first-person adventure game, so there's not a lot of action in it. It's purely narrative, and there's some interesting mechanics which we'll get to later. But it's definitely a story first game, so that's kind of what interested me to start with to go in and have a look at this game.
Interesting. So, okay, if that's the main thing around it, what's the story in it?
So set it up. You take control of Edith Finch, a lady who goes back to her family home to write her memoir. She's writing a diary to herself, and she narrates throughout the game. So throughout the game, she'll be narrating on what's going on, what's happened, and essentially what the game boils down to is you visiting all the different rooms within the house, and it's a bit of a labyrinth. So it's not just as straightforward as walking into the rooms. There's a certain little puzzles you've got to figure out how to get to them, and then it will essentially put you into the shoes of that family member. And what you come to realise after one or two is that it seems like a lot of the family members met a premature end. So you kind of live out that particular part of their life and figure out what has happened to them, and then it goes from there. And it's all based around her family and I guess what happened to them all during their lives and what the outcome was.
Sounds a little bit murder mystery.
Yeah, there's not a lot of that in it. It's not really murder mystery. It's just one of the things that they dubbed when you pick up like a newspaper nearby. There's a little article there saying the Finch is America's most unfortunate family, kind of citing the amount of tragedy that's happened in the family. So it seems like it's more to do with situation and consequences of what they're doing. But it's interesting. It's very interesting. It's definitely something that's not usually touched upon in games.
Interesting. So what does it look like? Is it a little side scroller or is it, 3D walk around sort of game?
First person, so you're through
Ooh.
the eyes of Edith Finch wandering around, and yeah, kind of you can look around at your feet, and that's about all you can see. But you're interacting with the environment, picking up things, triggering narration for the story. So it's all through first person, and that's how you'll get through it.
Interesting. For some reason in my head I didn't have it down as that, but Logan's ignorance strikes again. So how do you do it? Are you literally just sort of progressing through the story and the narrative to the end of the story?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, there's not a lot of there's not a lot of variance in that point. You are wandering around. You're exploring the house. You're triggering certain events that you can add them to your family tree that's drawn out in the memoir book, and playing through those experiences. So yeah, it's quite straightforward. There's obviously little bits of open areas for you to go and explore, but generally, again, as you often do with a video game, you're working towards a linear path towards the end.
Okay. So how does it control? Is it have you got any hands? Are you literally just walking around looking? Do
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Have you got
Oh
any
yeah.
an inventory?
Yeah, so there's no inventory or anything like that, but you walk around, you're obviously interacting with your hands, picking up things and writing things down. But what's great about this game, which up until now it sounds like a fairly kind of run-of-the-mill first-person adventure game, it probably sounds like, oh, we've played these ones a million times. The twist with Edith Finch is when you sit down to go through a family member's memory, you can be plunged into a variety of different mechanics. There are, depending on the situation that person was in before the time of their demise or when they disappeared or whatever it might be, you are you're controlling a different way, so you get a lot of variety. What is seemingly on the face of it, you just wandering around listening to her talk, then turns into some really good game experiences because you've got handful, dozen, I don't know how many it is, of different people that you go from. They've all got a very unique way of playing to get through, and it's great. That's one thing that really did sort of surprise me in one sense, but sets it apart from a lot of the other competitors on the market vying for this space. These narrative focused, slow paced games. This really does give you some great mechanics that have lots of variety throughout it.
Right, so it gives you something a little bit different to do.
Yes, absolutely. Every time you go into a room, you'll be doing something different that you did previously. So it's great. It's a vehicle to progress the story, which is great. It's not just been put there for the sake of it. There's a rationale behind why you're in that situation, and it's great. There's some really, really good moments in it, and they're the moments that you're playing through as well, not just listening to something happen.
Sounds interesting. So, what's the voice acting like? We've got plenty of dialogue, or is it, pretty sporadic?
Yeah, so Edith Finch is obviously narrating throughout. Does a good job on that. When you take control of the family, or when you're reading out one of their passages, they've left something, their voice acting will kick in, and good job on that front. Has to be good, and was good. Soundtrack's quite sort of low key because it's trying to set this. It is a bit of an eerie atmosphere, wandering around. You don't really know what's going on or what might be happening, so they keep it low profile, but it fits the tone perfectly.
Interesting. So how much is it? I mean, presumably it's an indie game, we're not talking 25, 30 quid. And how long is it? Does it offer good value?
I paid £10 for it. I think it's on or around for like 15, 20 tops. I don't think I've seen it. I think it's like $15.99 I've seen it for. Took me about just under 3 hours to do. So it's one of those ones that you kind of, and you got an evening, you think, I'm going to play a game tonight, you can say, right, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to do Edith Finch. You know that it's not going to take you 10 hours, you can do it. And I think it's priced just about right for that. And the payoff is that obviously you don't get a great deal of content there, but A, you're not paying for that amount of content, you're paying £10 for me in this example. And B, I think the quality of the experience and the different mechanics that get thrown your way, just so much more interesting than what has come before it.
Sounds good. So what are your closing thoughts on this game then?
Really surprised, really impressed with how they have taken a genre which has had criticism levelled at it for years since it first sort of arrived. All you do is walk around, you don't do anything.
Walking simulator.
Yeah. I mean, if they were walking simulators, they'd all get zeros because none of them simulate walking well. I'll tell you that much for free. And that kind of, it doesn't turn it on its head, but it goes, no, this is what you can do with this. This is really, I feel like it's forged a new path for those that are going to come after it. You'll look at Edith Finch and say, that's a really clever way of taking a genre which is perhaps getting a little bit tired amongst people that aren't fans of it generally, and giving, addressing those complaints that people have that you perhaps don't do a lot. There's no real gameplay mechanics, and giving you that vehicle to drive the story forward in an interesting way.
Interesting. So for this groundbreaking walking simulator game, what should you buy it or should you bin it?
Fucking buy it.
Interesting. Another buy it for a walking simulator. Apps loves them.
I do like them, but they have to be. Yeah. They have to be. I'll tell you what. Everybody's gone to the Rapture, one that Mr. Paper loved. That got a bin it, so they're not immune. They are not immune from getting, chucked in the bin. If they're not doing enough, I'll call them out for it. But Edith Finch was great.
There you go. So, what is a Dimp official seal grading?
What remains of Edith Finch has snagged itself a gold.
A gold?
Yes.
That is pretty high.
That is high indeed. He deserves it. It's doing a great service to a narrative focused game and offering variety throughout the playthrough, which is something that it needs sometimes. So really pleased to have just sort of seen it on the shop last year, putting it off, and then finally going, okay, I'm going to get it, and then taking the time to play through it because it was a joy.
You got a bit of a surprise?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I didn't really know what to expect going in. It's not that I had ill will towards it. I was like, this is going to be rubbish, but you kind of, I know what to expect when I play these games generally, and this took it in a little bit of a different direction and offers something, a bit more substantial, which is great.
There you go then. Nothing much else to say, but thanks for your time, and ta-da.
I'm sure my mom was just trying to protect me. Now that there's only one of us left, I thought it was time I heard the stories. But now I'm worried the stories themselves might be the problem. Maybe we believed so much in a family curse, we made it real. But it had to end one way or another.